I'm sure most of you have read your horoscopes in newspapers and magazines to find out what's happening in your life. But astrology is so much more than that. When I take on a client, I need their birth data, which is the time, date and place they were born. So it all depends on where the planets were, and we put them all into a chart. So, Gav, it's much different to what people think, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. I mean, you get people's, they read the Herald Sun or the Age or whatever
Yes,
it is, or Woman's Weekly, oh God, and read their sun sign and think, how can I fit in
with
12 people in the world?
1/12 of the population is all experiencing something that they're going to be hit by a bus next week. And that's where people think it's rubbish. But the things that we're doing go back thousands of years. All the ancient civilizations look to the stars. There's just so much history and culture in astrology that's
Well,
amazing.
It's interesting. I mean, astrology's become much more psychological in its more modern format. But, traditionally it was very, that planet has hit this, you will now die.
Absolutely. And the interesting thing, it was used by kings and by leaders, to work out what's going on and when are the days to, move forward and push something, and when are the days to hold back. And that's sort of, you're looking at the essence of time, and that's what people, they understand that in some ways, that it's sometimes, you can be, things going really easy for you, and other times it's just struggling, it's really difficult. It's about picking the moment.
Well, I think for some people it's nice to know that, Mercury is in retrograde. This is why nothing is working.
Yeah, exactly. Don't sign anything, don't go anywhere.
So that gives people a sort of a context for the reason that, there is upheaval. Or also, suddenly, I've won Tats Lotto and I've got a wad of fortune in my pocket. Where did that come from?
I know.
So it's rather than a divination tool like I use with tarot, which is much more relaxed, this is much more of a science. It's actually quite exact in its
it's very precise, and it's based on where the planets were when you were born, but also, of course, the planets are moving as we speak, and it bases forecasts on where the planets are moving and how they're shifting. So it's something that's coming back into vogue a little bit because people are so interested to know what's happening in the future.
Absolutely. And it's also the reason why you should probably see a real astrologer rather than reading your sun signs and horoscope. But even some of the books that are out there are not particularly detailed. So it's good to actually go and actually get a consultation and have someone explain what's going on. Because that's a complicated mathematical model in many ways. So,
it's great that we've got computers now to calculate things, because in the past I had to do everything by hand and it just took forever and you made mistakes. But now that out comes the chart, it's got, all its squiggly little figures in it that represent the planets, and then it goes into the 12 houses which look at each of the different areas of someone's life, and that's...
I mean, I must admit, hand-drawing charts was one of the reasons I never got into astrology, because I was reading those books from... Well, I've got all these magical texts and they refer to elements of astrology in terms of, things that are under the rays and...
planetary hours, things like that.
All that sort of stuff, which meant absolutely nothing to me.
I know.
I kind of had to learn a basic bit, but that is a whole other universe too.
Yeah, and I mean, it's things like the planets ruling the days of the week. So Monday is the day of the moon.
That's right.
Tuesday is the day of Mars. Wednesday is the day of Mercury. Thursday is the day of Jupiter. Friday's Venus. Saturday, Saturn. And Sunday, of course, is the Sun. So the 7 traditional planets, 7 days of the week.
And if you go back in languages, so you go back to French or Latin, they're actually named correctly as well.
That way, so you know that in those kind of languages,
Fascinating. I love astrology. I think it's wonderful, and I use a lot of it. But I would never consider myself to be an astrologer. But it's interesting to be able to understand the glyphs and understand, the idea of planetary hours and things like that, and what they mean. And anyone that's interested in astrology should definitely go and have even a small course is good to actually.
Exactly. And if you're interested in finding out a bit more about astrology, go to our website, starsandthecity.com.au.